Welcome everyone to our.
Just give me 1 second.
I still gotta do David's red.
Maybe.
Welcome everyone to our Philomath Inclusivity Ad Hoc Committee meeting for March 26th. Welcome everybody. We're going to start off our evening by taking attendance. We'll go around the room and then we'll do our Zoom. Catch everybody there. Jane Sherwood.
Zena Allen.
Diane Crocker.
Rose Bricker.
Lori Lehman.
Christopher McMorrin.
Amanda Holly.
Bruce Post.
Jessica Andrade.
Kate Stewart.
Is that everybody? Thank you, everybody. Onward, we're going to have an approval of our February minutes.
And I've already noted a correction to Rose's name.
Thank you.
I don't know if this matters all that much, but in the part about the Women's History Month Proclamation and Banner, there's the first clause to third clause that was for the proclamation, and then after the semicolon, that was regarding the banner. I don't know if that really matters all that much, but it's like it's not the same thing that's being talked about there, so I don't know if it should be like a separate bullet.
Oh, I see, because it was just one agenda item that the two different things that we're going to get.
Yeah.
Let's add Krista sent banner version. No, that's good. Let's just add the word banner as an amendment.
And then it'd be nice to have the numbers on the side too.
Yes, it is.
And the months that it's saying May, Zena was providing the social media post, is actually April, and I'm doing the May one.
Okay.
You know, and
Under B, Black History Month, 1, 2, 3
Also,
bullets down.
we need to add
Zena's
April.
April.
That needs to be April instead of May.
I'm May.
And June needs to be May.
And I'm doing June, right? I think.
And is July right, or is June?
And then you're doing July.
June is the Pride event.
Oh, yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
separate
you're doing the whole.
agenda item.
And get my little flags.
Start getting them.
Go,
Yeah.
go full Patriot.
Uh-huh.
Maybe not full Patriot.
Flag Day.
Acceptable Patriot.
Anything else? I just had a question. Are the banners here for the Women's History Month? Because I haven't.
I have not seen them yet.
We still have Black History Month though.
I know that.
Yeah.
And
I think because we were waiting for the women's history.
Right, yeah. I think
Black
we
History.
all agree that it's better to have.
they were submitted before February. I'll call and find out. Yeah, that's.
I'll check.
wonder if he's been gone.
It might also be, I know that before we had to wait for Pacific Guard.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why we didn't take the Black History Month ones
Right.
down, was so that, because we use a generous third party.
No, I think it's great. I mean, it's the shortest month, so.
If there's no other things that need to be edited, then it looks like we're good.
Okay. Do we have any urgent business to take care of?
Not that I have.
Okay. Onward to updates and announcements. I wanted to say the Women's Proclamation was approved with a slight amendment, including Indigenous people and taking out settlers. Okay, that's just so we all know.
And we are still trying to get more guidance about training and feedback from the training that we had from council. Waiting to hear back from Chris about what he received from Jacqueline, who did the training for us. And then I will be sending an email shortly to council asking if there's any additional feedback that they want to share.
And where we go from there?
Well, I need to get guidance from council also about whether or not we're still doing this annually, because in the strategic plan, we're supposed to be doing DEI training annually, in which case we gotta start figuring out what we're gonna do for the year. So, but yeah.
Okay, but then our next bit is agenda or our business, and we have a co-chair election.
You still didn't approve the minutes.
No, we do.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, it was if no one had anything else, then we're gonna approve it.
And just, I know we were talking about the council co-chair. How many more do you have?
This would have been my third.
Okay.
I'm okay to
Okay.
run another month or so, so we're not kind of like doing a whole
Okay.
change out there. I'm okay.
Okay. But so then next month we'd have to figure out
So we can find someone,
this month
we
too.
can talk about it now, or we can do it at the end of the meeting like we normally do
Oh,
at the end
sure.
of 3 months. So,
Okay.
Sold on the 3 months? I mean, those of you that have done it, is that enough time to get your feet wet and feel like you've done something?
Felt right to me, yeah.
I think it feels just right to kind of keeps giving everyone else an opportunity to kind of jump in there. But I know with the co-chair election, and I can wait another month. I don't mind doing it. I don't mind.
so
Do we have any ideas of who would like to co-chair the group for the next, how many months? Is it a year?
So annually, we're supposed to have a council co-chair
Okay.
to help with long-term stability. We were going to do it in January, but it would have just been between Councilor McMorrin and myself because we haven't had a meeting until now with Councilor Crocker present. So basically, we need to decide that. I don't mind either way, so.
You were the co-chair.
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
And moving forward, I don't mind either way. I enjoy this work, and also I don't mind handing the reins off to someone else. So.
I guess I'm a little conflicted. I mean, I think you obviously care a lot about this and you've been doing great work. I think part of me also feels like at some point we should rotate it just for like sort of health of the committee of like, it's not, it's like if you move out of town or you leave the council or something, like the committee doesn't just kind of go poof because it was his committee. So, I mean, I would be happy to do it for a year, but I also, I don't want to take anything away. I just also feel like it would be good for someone besides you to know what this is. I think.
I agree.
So, but I'm also okay with either way. I just wanted to offer that up.
I think in general, it strengthens committees if we do change it up. And that's all committees, not just this one, of course, but new perspectives and experiences and whatnot, I think is good.
And Christopher's been slacking. We all know it.
Sorry. I mean, I also think the committee's been on a good roll lately. Like, I think we've kind of hit a little bit of a stride, so I'm grateful that we've gotten to that place. I hope we can just kind of
Jessica's done. You've done amazing work. Thank you.
keep that going. But,
And I would be supportive of that because I'm still in my traveling mode and I will not be at every meeting, so I just think it's this time.
So, Christopher, how do
Are
you
you-
feel? What are you feeling right now? Because like, this is kind of like, I mean, we can also ask what the committee wants.
sure.
But I don't want you to feel pressured either way.
I think I'm happy to do it as long as my co-chair will be, well, yeah, I'm just saying I won't be able to do everything all the time, but I support the other
Yeah, that's,
co-chair,
sounds
so.
like you're in then.
I'm sure I can be if that,
We'll support you.
Yeah.
all right. And you're, as long as you're okay with that.
Totally fine.
Okay.
I'm still recovering.
I was gonna say, your leg is literally.
It's been really
So was not trying to be like ableist, I just did wanna be like, it's okay if you take a break.
That's true. Okay, well, yeah, then I'm happy to do it this year, and then, we kind of just make sure the institutional knowledge gets spread around. Okay,
And we can meet to transition
Okay.
stuff from.
yeah, that'd be great, cause, yeah.
Does that start in July?
I think it would start, would that just start now, like next?
I don't know if you wanna now go until next February, March now, or if we're, how do we wanna?
Is it usually
Calendar
in
year.
Yeah,
calendar
because we're-
year?
yeah,
It's supposed to be calendar.
Yeah,
Calendar year.
sure.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
So if you wanna keep doing this meeting, I'll just start next week.
Yeah. Alrighty, so that's awesome. Thank you, Christopher, for doing that.
Sure.
And again, we can wait until, if you want to roll over, the co-chair till next month, I could do that, then we can work on next month's, and then someone else can choose, unless someone else wants to do it for the next 3 months now. So then the next thing we have on our calendar is taking a look at our calendar, and we have a 4D. We have our inclusivity calendar page kind of laid out for us as to what we have to do as far as the proclamation goes. I think I jumped ahead.
Yeah, we didn't have
I
the
think I did.
inclusivity
Back it up. Back up a second.
updates and announcements
Updates. Nope,
and amount.
we did updates.
Yeah.
We did that. And we're now in business.
Yep,
So we're looking
April through July.
April through July. So we have our calendar. We have the Holocaust remembrance that will be presented on the webpage. This is a
What page or Facebook page?
copy from.
Yeah.
Yep.
I did try to keep it as short as possible, but it was very hard to not have an article, so.
No,
Very good at social posting.
Thank you for volunteering, Zena. I think it looks great.
And then the image options, these are literally the least horrific and images that I could find. So, yeah.
So are there any thoughts about this social media post? Did you get a chance to review it? Any edits you want to suggest? Thoughts about which photos to include, whether or not to include all 3 of those links as resources?
Feelings about the last sentence.
What
It's
last?
not an edit, but it's just sharing. Never allow such atrocities to happen again. Knowing of what's happening right now,
Yeah. So,
that makes me feel a certain way.
and that's fair. It's one of those things that we must remember again to never allow such atrocities to happen again. It's a literal call to action, and it's whenever I would get ones from my family member who's a survivor, it would always say never forget, and it's a constant thing where you're like, today I am remembering, and to kind of that it is happening. These things do happen. That was kind of the call, but I could have said,
I'm not suggesting change it. I'm just, that impacted me when I read that line.
I have a suggestion to change that just slightly. We must remember and work to never allow such atrocities again to happen
Yeah,
again. So
that's
if we
fine.
are actively working,
Continually work.
we
yeah.
cannot control the world.
No.
As much as I would like it, we can't. And so we can work towards that,
But
but
we can control our community.
of course.
I have a crazy suggestion. Would it be possible, to switch the paragraphs around and say by remembering the Holocaust, all of the things we wanna do first, and then the second put the second paragraph that's now the first that describes what it is? So that we
Yeah,
have
this
our-
was,
so we have our action.
yeah, I wrote like a whole paragraph and then Jessica was kind enough to cut it down and rework it, so I don't mind if it,
I mean, I'm just
In order.
suggesting that if we could just, say what our action is by remembering the Holocaust.
yes.
And then the description of it in, after that is just my, and I think, having this picture of the fourth one of the kids behind the barbed wire and the striped
Mhm.
pajamas, they're not pajamas, but
Yeah.
I was thinking of that movie titled The Boy in the
Striped pajamas.
Personally, that's my.
Those two recommendations sound really good.
I would agree. Can I just say, as, you know, when you're posting, making a social media post, you want, especially if it's a longer one, you want people to continue reading.
Yeah.
Because, you know, only a certain amount of it is gonna actually appear before it says more.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's an excellent reason for switching the paragraph.
I don't care. And I'm not gonna write another one of these. I'm not gonna ever volunteer to post again. And yeah, don't worry about it with me.
Oh, ouch.
It's only 12 months.
It's fine. Again, these are the least horrific. I would get one every single year from my family member, and half the time it would be baking recipes, and then the other half you'd open it and it'd be a card it would open and it would have all the atrocities and it would say never, you know, always remember. So yeah, it's my informed trauma that's been going on most of my life. These are the again the least graphic or I think upsetting for social media posts that I could personally find.
Thank you for doing that.
And I think all the links are good. I think the more the better, just because
Yeah.
people that want to get educated, they can click on several.
And I think we also agreed that having one be local, even though it was from last year, just again being like, you can't, things like this are taking place in our own community. Check out OSU, you know.
Thank you, everyone. That all sounds great.
Thank you again.
So if that's it, then if there's no more additional edits, then do you have all of that down?
The only one was, we must remember and work to never allow. Is that correct?
Towards never allowing.
We must remember and continually work. Continually. Yeah, I know, but this is a hard one. Continually work.
Towards never allowing.
Work.
Never allowing.
Yep.
Yeah,
Got it.
I think as long as that's the gist. Williams.
Thank you again, Jessica.
Well, thank you, everyone. Okay. So then we have May. Rose, will you have that next meeting?
No. Yeah,
Sorry, I was gonna just say we're having picture 4. So everybody agreed to
Yes.
4. Okay.
Lower right-hand corner.
Yeah.
And then, for some point with July.
Yes.
And I'm gonna do June.
Yay!
Okay, thank you. I wasn't sure if we had talked about doing it or not.
Not last one, but the one before, I think we talked about it, but I don't remember if it was an actual, like,
in the meeting or not.
Yeah, but
I just remember it, and I wasn't here, so that
Yeah.
might have been why.
who knows?
Cool.
Yes, so I'll do the Pride post for June.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, there's, well, maybe Juneteenth, so
So we'll have it. We'll add
I
it.
mean, we
in.
could probably do both.
And then Christopher.
all right, because I meant for the Juneteenth.
You're like, I waive what I said earlier.
Yeah.
But that one's so short. It's just
Yeah. Just Juneteenth, exclamation point. No picture.
There's people that don't know what that's about.
I'll go
Be
buy
careful.
yeah. After that, I will definitely be writing out a budget.
Ruth
Thank
never
you for
gets
showing
involved.
me to. Sorry, Chris. No.
Okay, so now that we have that agenda item down, would you like to take us to the next one, Jean?
Yes, we're gonna take a look at our Inclusivity Proclamation. We have a handy dandy chart for us to come up with our deadlines or how we want to approach our proclamation for inclusivity. So we have March, April,
Sorry, for the land acknowledgement
Yes.
portion of,
yes.
because
Meeting
we
our
can
land.
still have other edits made today, but regarding the land acknowledgement portion.
Okay.
Because we want to make sure that we have input from Indigenous peoples, on that, text.
Okay.
Right, you can continue.
I see anything.
I just wanted to add the context.
It's in D.
Yeah, it's,
Is it 4D?
Mhm.
It was at the bottom after the.
Yes, oh, I've got the chart.
Yep.
Was there a write-up about the land acknowledgement or no? That's what I was asking.
No, we don't have that yet.
Oh,
But so the proclamation from last year is here. Last meeting, we talked about how, or the meeting before, about how a land acknowledgement had been suggested by a former member. So they had suggested that we included a land acknowledgement, and we said, yeah, that sounds great. Several committee members volunteered to help do that. And so I guess I was trying to walk through this with Jane and was like, well, how about, since we don't have a land acknowledgement for this meeting, we, like draft text, that we have it, created, like, as soon as possible, have a first round draft review by, people, associated with the Kagu Ihit Mana Ina House, flag house at Oregon State,
Right.
and then take that first round to the committee for our April meeting, have us see if that sounds good or if there are further edits we want to include. And then in April, May, reach out to the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde and Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians for their specific feedback, since they are the people who were in this area. And then have the final review, edit, and approval by the committee at the May meeting, and then take that to the June council meeting for review and approval. And the reason why I suggested that tribal reach out later was because the League of Oregon Cities, which the cities are part of, they pay into, there's resources, they have annual meetings and such. Well, I'm a part of the People of Color Caucus, and we're putting on a session on how to collaborate with and reach out to Indigenous tribes, and to like what the protocols kind of are, and what kinds of
Protocol.
how to, yeah, like nation to nation, or not nation, but put to nation, but like, you know, political entity to nation, because of, like, that can be a touchy, it can be sensitive.
I understand what you're trying to say, but I also, like, recently I was at the MLK Park Committee, and Dr. Whitebear was there, and we discussed how sometimes doing that is not actually connecting with people. And so I don't feel like I can even write a draft before checking in, like, again, with her or someone else, even to write a draft. Just like with the Holocaust, it's good to check in.
That's,
And I get what you're saying, it's delicate, but
that's the word I was looking for.
it is delicate, but like it's important to really connect with people before, you know, oh, it's too delicate to like even ask or even, you know, if you're in the same room, I think it's important to see that person and ask them.
Yes. I guess what I was trying to get at was that session will have happened, like at the conference, will have happened very, like,
When is
what
the
it, April?
When is
I
the
always
conference?
forget. It's the beginning of April.
Where?
Like well, it's in Klamath Falls, but it's only for council members.
Right. Yeah. I'm just like so it's a whole
So,
thing.
wait, can you let me comment, please? And so the thought was, once we have that information, it'll we'll have a better understanding of how to reach out respectfully in this on this delicate matter, without, yeah, basically that, and you know, trying to make it clear that we want to collaborate, and that we're not trying to make this a checkbox kind of a thing. But I know that there are certain rules of engagement. I don't know if, or at least that's what I have been told. I don't know if, Lori, if you have any input on that.
I guess I'm confused about, so when Dr. Whitebear came here and did her talk last year, what she specifically said about land acknowledgements is that without them being tied to action, that they seem to be worthless.
Yes.
Yes.
So I guess I'm confused about why. So are you suggesting that, not you, are we suggesting that like just the native land acknowledgement that recognizes that, like that statement that people say all the time, you know, that ancestral and occupied lands of the Confederated Tribes, and you know, that sentence that's always said here by the school district in the different places, probably hopefully here, is we want to say also add action items to that, that things that people can do to acknowledge that?
I don't know what the, so I don't know what the consensus is on it. I just know that a former member of the committee had said, hey, we should make a land acknowledgement in this proclamation on inclusivity. Like, it's very important to make sure that we don't forget that this is colonized land, basically.
Yeah.
Like without those words specifically. I don't know, I don't remember what their words were. But, and I brought it up recently saying, hey, we gotta take a look at this proclamation by June. This was a past suggestion, how does everyone feel? And the committee was like, yeah, that's great. And then we had some volunteers say, let's work on this. So I think that is a question for the group. I personally think that it might not be the right place to include action items specific to the land acknowledgement, because this is a wider inclusivity proclamation, but we can definitely add more to our Indigenous Peoples Day. I can't remember if it's day or month. Proclamations that we've had already. There's at least the one call to action of like we encourage the community to learn more about the Indigenous peoples that were here, that have been here. So.
Question. Are there any calls to action? I'm not seeing any, but maybe I'm missing it in the proclamation itself, or is this just we're saying, hey, basically everybody is welcome?
That's an excellent point. I don't think that there are actually any calls to action. It looks like they're more.
I added some calls to action a while ago, and they kind of all just.
If I may, the calls to action are kind of more like we are committing. So in that sense, it's a call to action, but it's not necessarily that like, we're going to.
Right, a list of things.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right. Christopher, sorry.
Diane?
Diane, Christopher.
Yes, I am thinking that sounds like a wonderful thing to do. I do think it might take more than, I don't know that we'll be ready by next month. And so maybe we can set a goal of, by Indigenous Peoples Day, we have that, and that can go into our resolution for that day. And not, this is much more broad. And so, I don't know if that is acceptable by people, but
I'm feeling that.
in order to put the time in to get this land proclamation, I think we've got to talk to people. And that may not be happening by next month.
Christopher?
Two things. One, Ruth, could you turn the volume down just a tad? I'm passing along a request. And then, see, and now I forgot the other thing I was gonna, we were talking about something else. No, I just,
To table this, I feel like I got what Ruth says feels.
sorry.
Don't forget.
You saw him remember. So.
We're just about, I think, the call to action piece, like, I think this is more of like a mission statement, like there's no call to actions on the wall, right? That's just sort of what the city's about.
Yeah.
I think that's what this is for, in similar.
It's part of the.
Sure.
This is what we're saying we're gonna,
Like, this is the framework through which we decide the action.
right, and not actual tasks, because
Yeah.
obviously Black and Indigenous people have a long history of people putting down things that will happen and then they don't happen. And so I think it needs to be, until we really connect and then have any action items, I think it just needs to be a call to action again.
Land acknowledgement.
Well,
I'm getting muddy here on what everyone is intending.
I thought the land acknowledgement was going in the proclamation.
Yes, so there's the proclamation, which was already, we have, the land acknowledgement, which has not been drafted.
Right.
And it's my understanding land acknowledgement is the one that Dr. White Bear encouraged having that call to action.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean,
I like this timeline, Jessica, and I think it's smart. I think you strategically I do think it's real tight, but I know there are a million land acknowledgements out there. So we're not starting from scratch. I like that you're doing the knowledge bringing of how to etiquette wise appropriately approach this.
I just think it's too fast. Sorry.
I feel like we're overthinking it. I feel like we can just put the native land acknowledgement that recognizes and honors the ancestral. I mean, that's my opinion. But
to clarify, so are you saying that you think that we can just include what Oregon State university uses that I'm guessing the rest of the school district
Right, and then, you know, at the, you know, one of the parks here, there are land acknowledgements, at that little park, what's the one by the Frolic Grounds?
Suburban? Is it
Suburban
Suburban Park?
There's a land acknowledgement there. It feels like it's I don't, and I'm not trying to be antagonistic, I honestly just don't understand, like, what it feels like it's the same land acknowledgement for the same land that, you know, we have that's already been included in things, so.
Just add that to the,
That's, I don't understand why we're not just using that and adding.
then we don't have to review and go to other place to get
And-
permission, we just.
And again, I think that the first April, March volunteers create a land acknowledgement drop. That is just, it needs to be replaced with the second one down, because I personally don't feel like I can create any kind of draft without, again, reviewing more text or something like that. So I'm not saying that I respect the like hard work, but I think it would be good for us to have all this like for next Indigenous people to like really do the due diligence first.
So, well, I will say that we did talk about this at our last meeting. So, the question I have is, if I remember correctly, Zena, you, Jane, and Rose had volunteered, or
Yes.
okay, I wasn't quite sure.
And again,
And if you're still able to, that's great. If not, that's totally cool as well. Now is the time to say, like, my bad, like, I can't right now.
I've
'cause I
already
have
done
so
some of
many
the
things
work.
on my plate. But I guess, so now my question is, so definitely have a hard time just inserting standard language, even though, like even though that's essentially what we're doing for the proclamation because it's such a broad thing. I still think it's important to connect with the tribes
Right.
and to get their feedback, perhaps. But if people just want to include that standard language, that's fine. I wonder if we start with that language and then the volunteers edit that or like include more like or whatever, and then instead of going to Inahas can go straight to the tribal, or you can still do both just to like help minimize the steps.
I'm lost a little bit.
So I'll try to rephrase. Taking that standard language that is used, and then potentially adding edits to it, and then taking that to the tribal nations and asking if they would be willing to give some feedback and how to collaborate on that.
Why don't we just?
And then come back to this committee.
Okay.
So that was one option. The other option, it's sounding like, is just including the standard language, and I think those are kind of the only two options right now.
And by standard, you mean because this has been researched also, but just not by us.
Yeah, no, I understand that. It's more of like,
Okay, I just wanted.
I get what you're saying. I guess I'm at this point where I'm like engaged and then write my draft, and then collaborate with them to come up with a land acknowledgement. That's what I'm saying. Why do this extra?
Switch the.
Yeah, because I mean, again, until it just there's so many layers here, and instead of us coming up with it and then taking it to them, it's just like, why not collaborate with them from the beginning? That makes it whole. It's just like like Christopher writing a post about Juneteenth. It's not that there's anything wrong with that per se, but there's so many more layers, and if we collab together, it would naturally be a more authentic and more just inclusive way. I mean, how many things have just been written about Indigenous or Black people or BIPOC people, and they never get any say? To really, again, not just come to them with, hey, this is what we wrote about it. Let's collab from the beginning. That's what I'm saying. That's what I've been trying to start doing.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Well, OSU's, theirs is very concise.
But
I don't know who the origin they are.
what time is it?
6:12.
So,
I just wanted to give enough time for Pride and all that.
So then, I'm sorry. Chris.
I'll keep it quick. I found, I think the OSU one actually pulled up. I don't know, and I should remember this. I don't remember if this is actually what the school board adopted or not, but I found the thing that I think the Columbus School District one is a lot longer. See, but I think just starting with both of those as sort of some, because like,
yeah.
as Lori said, like those went through the exact process we're talking about. So I think just for your concern about like about anything, like we have something to start with.
As people, I mean, we're doing all of this other stuff, and then we come back with a more authentic, again,
Yeah.
I just am like, again, like, let's lead with intention, not rush everything.
Isn't June the anniversary of the Inclusivity Proclamation, and that's why we wanted to get it done in June?
Yeah.
The Indigenous Peoples' Day, the land acknowledgement portion of the proclamation is in November.
Okay.
But the anniversary for the proclamation, and that's why we were signifying for June as the date to have it done.
Okay, so I think we just need to reach out to Dr. Whitebear and be like, hey, other people, and be like, does this, you know, she runs, I'm not gonna say she runs the school board, but I mean,
What do you think about just grabbing the existing land acknowledgements? We could meet as a group, put something together, give that to Dr. Whitebear. Jess can do her knowledge about etiquette. Bring it back on April.
that's more doable.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Rose.
And it looks like Benton County has a much shorter than OSU.
That's
Um,
good.
But we could also, we'd have to change it for Philomath and use our tribes rather than Kalapuya.
Okay, thank you, everybody. And then our next is our Pride event. Rose for updates.
Really quickly, sorry.
Yep.
Was there anything else that anyone wanted to change on the proclamation?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, yes. This is what we're at. Yeah. Yes.
Sorry, before we move on.
So this proclamation is for
The inclusivity.
next month, right? June. So I'm gonna take this home, and is that okay if I?
You can have that.
Oh no, I know. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'll take it home and I'll go through it and do that work. I think it might be too hard to go through all of it right now.
Yeah, no, the point was
Yes.
to send it out ahead of time so that people could do it at home. Public properties.
Yes, I did. Number 4, it talks about all forms of racism. And I feel like it should be all forms of intolerance because LGBTQ or age or disability, racism doesn't really fit those marginalized groups, and that we would want to make sure that there is no acts of hostility, intimidation towards any of those people. So if we could change it to intolerance or something more inclusive for all of the various groups that.
So it does say
may be facing that.
intolerance in 3.
It does.
Number 3.
And then we do
Sure.
have,
I do, so why do we have number 4?
and then we do actually have it on number 6, which I was like, I definitely want to change that.
If I may respond to the question, unless, Kate, did you have something specific you wanted to respond to?
Go right ahead, Jessica.
Okay, thanks. So this was part of the conversation that we had last year or the year before about how this, the context of this proclamation is that it was born from the murder of George Floyd. And so we specifically wanted to make sure that it addressed that specific event. And then we also wanted to include all other forms of oppression. And so I believe that is the reason why we specifically say in number 3 and wherever else it may be that, you know, we condemn intolerance. And then we specifically call out racism because of the murder of George Floyd.
Right, and I think we'd all agree that it would be a living document that would change as we grow and change as a society. And so, yeah, there's like 6 again. I'm like, well, yeah, I think
To clarify, like,
I get
I believe the intent is to still keep that origin and to also keep it inclusive. At least that was what the past conversations have been.
that was my understanding as well.
Okay, thank you.
But
But I don't know if
Not
anyone else
saying-
wants to say.
no, I think that again we need to continually like make sure because some of this stuff again we're facing different, and we're always gonna face like this, but we're also facing new challenges and new problems around certain discrimination, and so I think it's always good to have something that, if it's about true inclusivity, then it should be, again, a living work.
I still feel like if we are just labeling racism,
Yeah.
that we are not including everybody, and that's what this is, an inclusivity document. It's not a racist document. I mean, a document on, a proclamation on anti-racism. It's, my understanding is that, I mean, some of the stuff up above is talking about how we don't discriminate based on so many different things other than just race. I mean, race is important, but so are some of the other things. And it just seems like we shouldn't then exclude those other things down the page.
In 7, there's a, it kind of builds on
Yes.
all of that.
So
I-
is 4 and
I
5
think
even
it's
needed?
Or emphasize.
I think that.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, okay, I'll jump in. So I'm hearing you guys kind of go through that whole piece around we've got the racism, discrimination, intolerance, bigotry, and hostility. We're condemning that. We're saying we don't tolerate expressions of acts of hostility against that. We're denouncing violence against that. And then we've got, affirming that, what the 6th part has a very specific place, right? That is the very specific place. And then we've broken down, and now we're going to build back up. But in the breaking it down, that's where I'm hearing you talk about including all of those items, whether, anti-Semitism from the Holocaust remembrance, all of those things. We're condemning those bad things, and we do not tolerate expressions of acts of hostility, intimidation, harassment for any of those things. And that's what I think I'm hearing you guys say.
Right, so I think we would just need to change out all forms of racism, and I mean, 3 and 4 are kind of like, they're parroting the same idea of, again, we're not tolerating expressions of hostility, we condemn all of this. It just, we don't necessarily need to report, need to redo that for all forms of racism everywhere as it exists. I mean, I think we should just, again, be addressing that. All of those things. Doesn't matter if you're a person of color or not.
So if you're changing 4 to all forms of racism, discrimination, intolerance, bigotry, and hostility?
Yeah, I feel like, oh, sorry.
So,
Or just make it small with that intolerance word?
would it work to combine 3 and 4 together and see what that looks like as far as you know, adding the words, and I'm just using words, even though they're bigger than that. They're not just words, but if we do that, maybe that would eliminate. We could just eliminate 3 and then make 4
Yeah,
include that.
I was like, you can really put this together really well.
Condemns and does not tolerate expressions or acts of hostility, intimidation, or harassment, and instead is committed to the elimination of all forms of racism.
Right,
everywhere it exists.
racism and intolerance.
I'd have to go home and rework it, but I think, yeah.
I would also be a fan of making this a 1-page situation. I mean, this is a long proclamation.
Yeah, I agree. I think again, it's a product of its time, and we were really not formed the same way as Christopher said. We've kind of hit our stride now, and so I'm not saying all of this. I think again, maybe we could all revisit it and kind of come back and be like, here's what.
I think that's what we're doing now, right?
We are revisiting it because we have had this for at least one meeting. So, so what I'm hearing is that it sounds like a lot of people are not a fan of of emphasizing racism as Rose had described it, and instead would rather have it be
All discrimination.
Equal instead of equitable, I guess.
No, I mean,
Lack of a better.
I think we have that in there. We have both in there. So I think that we can devote a sentence to, again, addressing the problem that faces the Black community because of how Oregon was organized in systemic racism. I just don't think it has to be all of it in that sense. I think that we have, denounces violence against people of color and things like that. And we've learned so much about it since when this was written, even just by Black History Month happening. I think maybe some of y'all feel some different feelings and more knowledge around it.
Right, I agree.
And especially after our training. I mean, y'all know what the brown bag test is, so we're halfway there. So does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you. So then how about, since it doesn't sound like we're going to come to any major conclusions now, homework to write out what you think this should be focused on, like edit. Perhaps text would be great, but definitely zeroing in on whether to include the whether to include the emphasis of where this proclamation came from, or whether to make it more broad and inclusive. Does that sound okay to everyone?
Yes.
Yeah, we don't have to throw at everything.
Just for the sake of time, because it's 6:25.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. I will make a note to send an email about it sooner rather than later, since we all have this document. Now we go to the next tab.
Rose? Got the floor. Got the floor.
So I apologize. It was a rough March and I didn't prepare as much as I wanted to prepare. A lot of the knowledge or the stuff I wanted to prepare is still in my brain. But
A good safe place.
yeah. We have had some developments over the past month. So we've scheduled a planning meeting. It's going to be over Zoom on April 4th from 6 to 8 p.m. I checked the city schedule, there's no meetings that time, so. We're talking about volunteer needs, subcommittee assignments, and then any updates about the event. I have a flyer, I will send it to you. Last month, we already shared about wanting to look into de-escalation or bystander intervention training. I reached out to and heard back from Cahoots, which is the White Bird Clinic in Eugene. Do you guys know about the Cahoots program? Yeah. Cahoots. So Cahoots is a community-based program that they either ride along with first responders, typically police officers, or they go instead of the police officers. So if someone's having a mental health crisis, instead of having a police officer in front of them, they have someone who is trained in mental health, de-escalation, and also many of them have lived experiences as well. So Cahoots does a training. Throughout the date of early May, they have a sliding scale. Typically, they charge anywhere from $300 to $1,000 for their training. But they said they would definitely be wanting to work with the city on flexibility on that. One idea I threw out is just having they don't have a Cash App, but I would be comfortable if someone wanted to send it to my Cash App and then I'll transfer it. Or if the city has something, I don't want to touch money. But they would be cool with that, having a tip jar or something, basically a digital tip jar.
Yeah. Explain, to come to the
De-escalation. No, this is for our, so we have a safety team called the Pink Flamingo Brigade. I call them the vibe checking peacekeepers.
Okay.
And so we had some de-escalation conversations last year, but I do see that as an area where the event could be improved.
I agree with that for sure.
And so specific training for either just for the Pink Flamingo Brigade, but I think I would.
And how does one join the
And then, okay, and then ideally before this Pride event.
Yes, ideally the beginning of May.
Got it.
Yep.
And I'm gonna guess that they're gonna go over basic de-escalation and everything, and it's pretty fast. And I do, not to just chill here, but I think, again, we should look at some of the other programs that are available for that kind of thing, just as a city in general. It's de-escalation stuff anyways.
For Pride, you mean, or?
I think this will be the first push for Pride, and then it's just for me, doing all those classes and doing that, I find it's really great, and they do offer them for cities and stuff.
Yeah. And I'm thinking the frolic, the music in the park, the city has events, and so I
Can't be
think everyone
everywhere
would benefit
from
from that. Yeah. I don't know if I shared this last month. Maxitivity is planning on bringing Glory, which is their kinetic sculpture vehicle. Gigantic, big wheels, takes 5 people to pedal it, kind of thing. My big announcement.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are they going to park it at the baseball field or something?
We haven't determined what they're going to do with it.
Okay.
But they want to bring it to the event.
That's good.
They're
Something
going to
will
be
be
at the 4th meeting, the April 4th meeting, and we'll find out.
That'll be fun.
Caesar, the no drama llama, fried this year. This has been 2 years and
Oh my gosh, I love the
very exciting. So yeah, Larry, his handler, Caesar's handler,
partner.
yes,
partner.
his dad. He's like, yeah, we're gonna be in Eugene and Salem and Portland, and now Philomath.
Philomath just made it. We're finally of the no drama level.
So Caesar is planning on being there with Larry from noon to 2. Another thing, a development that's happened, I talked about last time, the Zen Den. So that is the low sensory area for people who are feeling overwhelmed or just need to kind of get away from the sensory, the stuff going on. I've reached out to an old coworker who now works for Benton County Mental Health, and I think you suggested having Benton County Mental Health adopt the Zen Den. And so they are owning it with activities and the way it looks and they
My friends are gonna be so excited. I can't wait to.
My friend has not asked her boss yet, or she hasn't texted me that she has. So the ask has been made. But
No, I just meant I have a bunch of friends that are planning to come to the meeting, and they all work for Benton County Mental Health, so yeah, they're gonna be excited.
Our committee member who works for the forestry department says that OSU has a bunch of lawn games, so
Yay!
they're gonna find out if we grow the lawn games. I think that was something that was missing last year. We had it as the first one, and then didn't that one, and I felt like it was an element we wanted to miss. And then I recently got in contact with the mother of a local drag family, House of Dharma. They do performances in Corvallis typically. I had a conversation. The feedback I've received from community members is maybe not this year, as far as a drag show, but they do have access to a sound system, and they were, the person I spoke with was like, we can do music, we can do announcements, we can do games, like, so I came away from that conversation with, you talk to your drag family, come to the April 4th meeting, we'll talk as a committee and a community and go from there. So we have been reached out by the local drag community, which I think is awesome. Couple things that was ideas that wanted to throw it out to the committee. Trying to do community pulse check. So going to local businesses and either asking for sponsorship or just asking for support, like we support Pride, kind of getting a vibe of which businesses would be interested in supporting the Pride event.
Like financially or?
Not financially, but maybe putting up posters, spreading the word, attending. I don't know. The last 2 years, there's been so many opportunities where people are like, here, take this. Like Dizzy Hen had a bunch of day-old pastries. We brought that to the first one. So like, I've kind of gotten into the rhythm of just things just appear. And so I thought if we put the word out, just kind of see what the community feels.
I kind of started a list already.
And I think it's also really important after our last event to just get the word out in general about any event that we are doing, because I guess if I hadn't texted a bunch of my Black friends, they would not have known about it. And so they were like, girl, we just are skipping a movie for this.
That's the typical.
And I was like, I'll come back with posters.
The feedback is I didn't hear about it.
So like I've gone to businesses here and they're like, you've had a Pride event? Oh, darn it, when was it? And I was like, sorry, man, this is year 2. Yeah, I'll come back with posters.
Just flyering the town would be.
Yeah.
A few ideas that were put out there, a bounce house. I know there's a bounce house company in Corvallis. Amanda and I checked the prices. They're not too extreme. They didn't seem too crazy. Thought that would be something fun for kiddos.
I might be worried about liability on that one.
If you hire a company, they have the insurance.
Okay, they're covered with the liability.
And the city's covered on their property. Yep. Oh, is it?
They're
Going along with Glory, the kinetic sculpture, one idea that we had thought, we've been discussing this since the very first Pride, potentially having Glory, the House of Dharma drag family, and potentially the Sick Town roller derby girls be a part of a Pride parade, looking at just the circle around City Park. That was something that had been asked at the very first Pride event, and it was kind of, we'll put that on the list for next year, and we've done that twice now, so.
I think the check pulse was people weren't quite ready, and then the first year was raining, and so.
Did it rain a little bit last year too? I can't remember.
It was actually hot, and I have some Zen Den suggestions of making it actually.
I think Glory could make it down that dip.
I was thinking about that.
Yeah, and because that we're right there is pretty narrow.
I do agree. I was thinking
But
about
just have a Glory be the round. Yeah. In the baseball field, maybe just.
The bubble zone, just it would be great just to even have it.
Yeah, good. I'm not trying to discourage the idea of a parade, but I feel
thought about that, though, like how is Glory, like
Yeah,
that's the pedal to get up that.
it's pretty narrow, and Glory is not.
Right. Some other ideas that were thrown out, continuing collaboration with the Racial Equity Club at Philomath High School. I've reached out to my contact, haven't heard back, but I'm gonna try and continue pushing that. Chris, if you know anyone at the school, our peeps,
Yes.
would love to reconnect with them. I think I kind of lost communication after the Black History Month event thing,
Okay.
and then want to circle back around.
Just like about spreading the word?
Coming to inclusivity meetings, the April 4th meeting for the Pride event.
I'd love to tap in on that to just get some of the other events that we've been talking about.
Right.
Get high schoolers involved.
Then Amanda had an amazing idea of doing a QR code survey. So we have been talking about in years past how we can get feedback about what people are thinking and get contact information for someone who wants to help for next year. And we had paper little slips, but not everybody did that. So going into the digital age of having just a QR code that you can read with your phone, and then you would be linked to a survey where you could leave your contact information if you wanted to stay engaged, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think last year we talked about, especially like running the check-in table, like people were coming in and we would start to ask like partway through the day where they were coming from. And so like that survey would also help track the reach, because we were getting people from like Independence and wild.
And you had the idea about having like a blown up map even, like where are you from kind of.
Yeah, that was an art thing that I was thinking about. Like, again, I love maps, and I was like, it'd be really cool to have an art piece where people can put where they're from and like incorporate maybe art or something on a big easel.
Also, a good question on those surveys is, how did you hear about us?
Yes,
Yeah.
and then will the surveys be possibly anonymous as well?
Yeah, so I have a couple different survey tools that we can look into and I can build out, and we can go over, like send out a test, but yeah, anonymous
I think
is probably
it would be cool to.
risky, but
I mean, we're yeah.
I mean, if there's like obviously bad, like
Yeah, but
negative feedback, then
we just keep that
Okay, sure.
close to ourselves.
Yeah.
It's your opinion.
I also think it would be good to like have some other way for check-in other than writing. As a person with disabilities, writing it down, and like it's kind of hard, and then you get distracted, and you're like, okay.
Do you think we should have both a QR code and written one?
Yeah.
So for people who aren't familiar or
Yeah,
comfortable.
I think you should offer both.
You would just take a picture of it and do it at home too.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking, because you're there. You're like, oh my gosh, there's so many cool things.
Right,
I want to do this, but
and sometimes you want to evaluate after you then have the event, you know.
that's kind of how I am. I'm like, oh, sorry, Jessica and y'all didn't check back to sign in until in the mid-afternoon or something.
thoughts on the sheet, the list of businesses and stuff. If I don't think it's as big of a deal for like residents and stuff, but with businesses, I wonder if it would be good to have an Excel sheet and have people sign up for reaching out, so that you're not constantly going back and like, if there's no flyer in this business, but at the same time, like a couple other people asked and they're like, no, like we don't want to have this here for whatever reason.
We can split it up. Some of us can go to other places that we can't. So
That's a good idea.
split it up.
Sign up for it. It's something that we do at the
I'm good to go to the bank, but I'm not sure about the meeting place.
So I'll go to the meeting place. Love that guy.
Yeah, sure.
Enjoy.
Ron and Dakota, sure, heck.
Maybe I can go to
It looks, but you know, it's fine.
I'll ask you afterwards. So yeah.
Question. Do we have any contacts, or have we had done anything with HRC?
HRC.
That's HRC.
Human Rights Campaign?
No.
Okay.
Is it more national?
They are more national. They also get very excited when there are small groups that are growing.
Oh.
And then they made yeah.
Then I'm just wondering, I mean, that's one of those areas where I'd be willing to reach out and see if there was anything that they would be willing to offer, or in terms of tools or utilities or things like that.
Thank you.
Okay.
So maybe we can add that kind of stuff to the Excel spreadsheet. Like, here are people that we've you know, added and like organizations, I was thinking about Moms Demand Action for Common Sense, the BIPOC caucus, I was like, let's do this and engage,
I'm gonna, real quick,
time
yeah, time check, 6:42, we have 2 more, topics to discuss. Anything else important, we can get more details figured out at the April meeting or reach out to Rose. Rose, anything else?
any way we can support you?
Come to the 4th meeting.
Oh, we'll be there.
Email me, talk to me, flowwithpride@gmail.com. I'm gonna try and reach out to as many people as I can. I think everyone's been pretty supportive, so I'm feeling good.
PrideEmail.com. Yeah, I don't have your email.
flowwithpride@gmail.com.
Pride.
Thank you so much.
The social media post, and I forgot that I was helping with the land acknowledgement. I'm wondering if you guys would want another volunteer for the land acknowledgement help, since I'm diving into Pride stuff. I just don't want to let you guys down by overcommitting myself.
That's fair.
I'm kind of feeling that pressure.
I can help if no one else really wants to do it.
I think I was on land acknowledgement, so we can.
The 3 of us. Yeah, but if there's anyone who like really wants to do it, please. Go for it.
I'll do whatever I'm doing.
Yeah, I'm overcommitted at my job right now, so I can't volunteer.
I can put, yeah, I can put input, but I can't do the full thing. Also, try not to overcommit, but I am.
Okay, cool. Thank you for bringing that up, Rose.
Okay.
So, if it's okay if I take this next one, Jane. For Heritage Celebration Awareness banners, we had talked previously about how it takes a lot of time to discuss designing the banners, and it'd be nice to kind of have, it would be nice to be able to collaborate with the wonderful graphic designer who has been fantastic. And we talked about the possibility of having a subcommittee, but if we were to do a subcommittee to really like accept those, whatever those options are, and not like toy with it too much afterwards. So what are people, Councilor Crocker, what are your thoughts on this as?
That's a great idea. We've gotten great edits and revisions, but it does take a great deal of time. So I think a committee that we hand over the responsibility to them would be the right thing.
And so, have you talked with your friend about the potential collaboration, like what that could potentially look like? I know I didn't ask you to do this, but I just got to thinking if you would broach the topic.
She's in tax season and she's a tax preparer.
That's right. That's right.
I hesitate to ask much more of her at this moment.
Yes, she's just barely staying above water.
Because the answer's not gonna be no. You ask now.
I'll say later after the 15th.
Can I ask a question, a clarifying question about this? And I apologize if I should know this, but I don't. Because like your March, that's how my brain has been lately. So do we have, and I know we do somewhat, do we have a like an idea of the heritage awareness? So like we'd be able to say in this month to your person, we'd be able to go, oh, okay, in this month, I mean, and we have a number of them, say there's gonna be six different I know I should know this, but I don't, I count on like writing things down and then looking it back up. So is it like 6 months worth, different months of whatever they are, for instance, and then we would say, you know, can you help us design this many?
So we don't have one for the banner specifically because we've, Councilor Crocker has brought ideas that our friend has made to us, and we just haven't really had the opportunity to have that conversation of what do we want to do next.
Yeah.
We do have that calendar of what recognition and heritage days and months that we want to recognize and honor. But yeah, we just haven't done that. At
Right,
this
but, and so on that list that's the great one that you created. Are there is there a note that that's a banner?
No, because when this was created, the banners.
Ben and I created the calendar.
And there's been a little bit of confusion because I thought the decision was to do just like 6 this year and
Yeah.
do more later.
That's what I thought.
But if we're gonna have a committee, maybe we want to design at least all 12 of them. I don't know.
I honestly think that it's whatever the subcommittee wants to do. Because if they have the capacity to do more, then like in theory, we're not taking as much time to talk about it afterwards because we're going with what the committee said. More like we're not going to check mark it, but at the same time, like it's going to be a much shorter conversation.
Right.
So I personally think that it's whatever that subcommittee wants to do, but I don't know how other people feel.
I think that.
Yeah. And again, I'd love to be on the subcommittee. I like making logos, designs, things like that, but it just takes a long time. So if we need to plan it right.
So I guess, is anyone opposed to a subcommittee?
At this point, no.
Do we want to take volunteers right now? I don't remember how many people.
Did we have volunteers last month?
I did, but then I was like,
I
I'm
don't
also not gonna
remember
die.
I thought we tabled it because we were gonna check with Diane.
We needed to talk with Diane first. It was like, we can't. Not till that's.
Mrs. Crocker.
No, not that one.
Thank you, Counselor.
Mr. McMahon.
Yeah, I don't know what, I don't know how many people on our committee, how many official members.
And then I do have to,
somewhere.
so if we're gonna do one.
I can't remember how many official committee members we have.
Oh, how many
Many?
committee members do we have?
Oh, for the safety team folder in here somewhere.
Or for the event itself.
I rearranged things.
Yeah, because the last time I did it, but then I was like, do I get a shirt this year?
I'm not sure if we're gonna do shirts.
Or what, I mean, yeah, but lanyards.
Lanyards,
right,
yes, we
Because
talked
Laura's
about.
not here.
That's right, thank you. Okay, so we can have, so that means we can have up to 4 because a quorum is +1, correct?
It is.
Okay, so we can have up to 4 volunteers.
Doesn't mean you have to have.
We don't have to. We can have up to 4.
And we could always just do like, you know, whoever wants to do this work on this banner, and you can.
I think that could be a subcommittee thing.
Yeah.
But, okay, so Zena has volunteered. Do we have any other volunteers?
Yay!
Thank you, everyone. Any additional volunteers? I can send an email out also to whomever isn't here who might be interested. Okay, so far we have a subcommittee of Zena and Counselor Crocker. I'll send out another email and we can talk, someone of us can talk later about what that's going to look like. Cool, thank you. And now we have 10 minutes to quickly do age-friendly communities stuff.
Sorry, buddy. I know.
If you, whatever you'd like to do.
So as we begin to talk a little bit about age-friendly communities, as communities shift in age, of its citizens. That's our population aging.
Sorry, real quick. I wasn't sure if we wanted to.
There you go.
Really quickly,
Okay.
as an outline, we'll talk
Yep.
about what an age-friendly community is, resources from the World Health Organization and American Association of Retired Persons. Talking a little bit about how age-friendly Philomath is according to these metrics from these resources, and potential options for the Inclusivity Committee to continue on this path.
That's okay.
Just tell me if you want me to push a button.
You can go ahead and talk about what you were going to say, Jane.
Okay.
And then I can toss in whatever little things. if you
So
have
the
that.
World Health Organization developed a global network of age-friendly cities and communities. It is known as the GNAFCC, connecting over 1,100 cities and communities in over 44 countries. So their global outreach was to take a look at how communities are aging, what we can do to take away the perception of the older age people. They looked at factors of age-friendly needs. What do older citizens need to make their communities more accessible to them? Improving programs and planning that may already be available, and how to tweak them to work best. Our AARP is part of the World Health Organization. They sort of work hand in hand. That would be our research part of the global network. Any community can join this global network by making a formal commitment to increase their level of age friendliness. And in that formal commitment, there is an exchanging of information, knowledge, and experience. That's on the getting involved in a global sense. So there's a lot of information to go through and to take a look at. So we can take a look at our next slide.
And to clarify from that earlier slide, just to verbalize it, an age-friendly city or community is a place that adapts its services and physical structures to be more inclusive and receptive to the needs of its population to improve their quality of life as they age. So as Jane was saying, like a more age-friendly community is going to be a more accessible community to everyone. At least that's the idea of it all.
It takes a look at 8 specific domains. Some cities have a couple of more, but the 8 domains are listed on our page there on the screen.
And just to list them real quick, outdoor spaces and buildings, transportation and housing, those are all in the built environment. And then what's the social environment is health services and community supports, social participation, respect and social inclusion, communication and information, and civic participation and employment.
And then, so the question is, how age-friendly is Philomath? So, okay, well, and I did highlight that, but I don't know what to do with that. So when we take a look at, when you go into the AARP and you find out how age-friendly Philomath is, we have a score of 53. And
it's about average.
It's above average.
It's above average.
Above average, yeah.
I think it's a great place to start. We can do better.
I said about.
Exactly. It can go both ways.
And also, the indices, so on the bottom of the screens, there are, for all of these pages, I have links to, additional information or like where those exact words and images are from. None of it is really my own words at all. And so there's a link also to their methods for how they came to these different indices for each of the domains as well. So just to clarify. Next slide. So,
Sorry about the closed captioning there.
and so Jane, did you want to say anything specific about this slide or?
Well, I think our neighborhood was the lowest score on the chart there, and it talked about proximity and security. And I think that
Yeah,
when we look,
neighborhood is at 40.
I think when we look at the other pages at our next meeting, we might see how our community is kind of set up in clusters. So we don't have connecting sidewalks to each of our clusters. We're here, there, and everywhere kind of thing. And I think that's part of the proximity problem there. But other than that, so I think our next slide.
Would proximity also be like walkability?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our options, our potential options for the Inclusivity Committee, we can research criteria for enrolling. I did send out an email asking several questions. How do we get started? Are there fees involved? What is the paperwork? What is our commitment part? And I've not gotten an answer back yet. So I did check out, yes, I did with AARP.
Can I interrupt just? Thank you. This is awesome, very thorough information. And just a comment too, which is since the state is doing the major highway project through our city and building new sidewalks, right now it is not walkable, but you can certainly see the glimmer of how it is going to be more walkable in the future. And I think that the city council's already been, and Christopher might be the leader of this. We have talked about the walkability of the city.
Bother people about that.
So I'm not sure if there's been if there is a plan afoot for that, but an intent, but
It's in the strategic plan.
Okay,
Sometimes there's a difference between being in the strategic plan and it happening in a timely fashion.
yeah, I understand,
but yes.
but so there is a glimmer of hope with some of these
Yeah.
things, because you definitely, I mean, when you drive down Main Street, it's just so horrible, but you can already see like some of the wider sidewalks and it's hope.
It's coming together. Yes, Christopher.
I think, I mean, you said you reached out about sort of the answer to this. Yeah. I guess I was just a little confused on like some of the like, well, we don't have to, for example, the municipal LGBT. It's like,
So, yeah, here, I can get more information on.
can I just finish?
Oh,
this
sorry,
really-
yeah.
Well, just because I guess I was a little bit like, oh, and then I was just looking at what is this? It's lgbtmap.org. The Movement Advancement Project. But it just has a map of sort of the whole, and it shows state by state, like what percentage of residents are protected from discrimination on both sexual orientation and gender identity. And Oregon is one of the 100% ones because it's just a statewide policy. So I guess it was that and like a couple other where it's like, oh, we don't have a municipal law for like, you know, rent protection, but like, do we need one? Because this entire state, a lot of states don't. So I guess that was one thing I thought was a little weird. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. I'm sorry. Well, really quickly, we can also, another option if we did want to, or if we also wanted to at the same time look into enrolling into a program, because they have all these resources and stuff about how to progress on in accessibility for these different areas, would be to research some of these individual domains and how to improve them. And so the engagement one was what we had chosen as a potential starter point, because that kind of looks at what our committee is doing. Like, we're trying to be more inclusive, we're trying to engage more people. And so it seemed kind of like the low-hanging fruit, more or less. And so in each of these, so when you look up our zip code, it has different information on here. So if you look at the later slides after the thoughts slide, there's indicators, metrics, and tells you whether or not certain things have gotten worse or better over time, like where we fall in the 2023 median US zip code, et cetera, et cetera. And then they also have some indicators as policies. It tells you whether or not a policy is present. And then they've said for most, they say whether or not there's no policy, a state policy, or a county policy, or local, I can't quite remember what else they might have. Yeah, county policy, state policy.
Oh, so this is 20, okay, because we have a lot of policies that are changing around housing and stuff like that.
Yes.
And so this is all.
This is all based on 2023, like as of
Oh, that's-
2023, based
yeah.
on what I can tell. So
That's not, accurate.
So, I don't quite have the answer to your question about the municipal LGBTQ plus anti-discrimination laws suggestion, because in the other areas, like it has said when there has been like state policies present. So that step would involve researching what is a total score of 75 or greater from the Human Rights Campaign Municipal Equality Index, and like how does that fit into state laws and stuff like that. So that would be part of it. Same with like, what is a Human Rights Commission? Is that kind of what our committee is doing? Because based on what I know, like it seems like that's kind of what it is, but it says that there's no policy on it. So again, it would be a lot of researching and figuring out, like, is this applicable? And if so, like, do we have this? If not, do we want to pursue it? Do we think we can pursue it? And like, of course, taking all this to council for approval first.
And then what's an acceptable score?
That's exactly it. That's my point, is like, I didn't look it up. All I know is that those were some of the what appeared to be low-hanging fruit. And so, like, those are, if we want to research this, I didn't want us to do all of this research and then have the committee go, like, we weren't even interested in that in the first place. Like, we are more interested in, you know, housing or something like that, or one of the other domains, or, you know, we wanted to look more into enrolling in this program that helps create, like, helps you go through the process of creating an age-friendly community plan, you know, and in which case we would do that research and present it to council and ask if we could do that kind of a thing.
And then see what's already included in the strategic plan and.
Exactly.
And what's changed from
Yeah.
way back,
Right,
there's
because-
a lot of stuff, again, just housing, I'm like.
Right, yeah, that's good idea.
That's updated.
Yeah, that's.
So this was, we brainstormed so hard on this of like, how do we do this? Oh, and the other reason why we had brought this up was because in the survey, the community survey that the city did, there was a continued focus was economic development efforts and city communication with public. And then there was some other thing that I saw. Something else that had to do with reaching out to the community that kind of was like, oh, well, maybe this could be our starting point if we want to do something like this. Jane, is there any, sorry, I'm trying to like rush since we're 5 minutes over.
And in all of the research, and
Yes,
there
that's right.
are lots of little booklets that come with all of the research. How there's a roadmap to livability, and then with this booklet, there is a how to get the community to listen toolkit that helps you organize the community. So it's kind of thing. So I do have copies of those that I can hand out for relief if you want. And then it breaks it down into, there are little booklets for each one of the 8 categories. So if we were thinking about taking on one category, we could focus and hone in on one. Maybe the other idea too is if we get a real understanding of the livability idea, it might be something that we can do maybe without having to
Yeah.
do it globally, or we could do it within.
Yeah, and maybe starting with the opportunities, which is inclusion and possibilities, since we're the inclusivity.
Yeah, we could literally go neighborhood by neighborhood and
44, and that's below average, so if we wanted to just choose one to start with, maybe that's one that we could.
and again, assessing like neighborhood by neighborhood, we can assess how they're doing in this area and what we could do better.
So lots to think about.
Yeah, that's the.
They also have classes online that you can take for free.
Exactly. And that would, but I'm under the impression you might have to be enrolled as the city, and so that's where we have to do some more research on. But yeah, that would be an excellent reason for.
And I think some businesses have that because I've had to take all the training through where I worked one time. So
Very cool. So I guess if we're able to come to a quick decision about what we want to pursue, if we want to pursue anything, that would be great. If not, think about it and talk about it next time.
Do you want to wait till you hear back from them about the fees and the questions that you asked?
We can.
Would that?
I can give an update next meeting, and then we can kind of go from there.
Are you asking whether we want to pursue this whole idea of making age-friendly communities?
Well, that's also part of it. Of we
I
had this
think we
request to
should.
talk about it, and I honestly think it would be a great project. It's gonna be a long-term thing.
right.
Something we can work on a little bit each meeting or subcommittee or something. So if we're cool on proceeding, I guess we think about what specifically we might be interested in, then hear about the update from Jane at the next meeting, and then make a decision from there.
And then I think maybe also we could hear from, not to put you under scrutiny, but maybe what, really what you have talked to the city, mentioned about walkability and
sure.
stuff. What is in the strategic plan as far as that goes? Well, I'm not asking you to spit out the strategic plan.
Well, there's not a lot, but yeah, I would be happy to talk
So,
about
I mean,
that more.
maybe,
Yeah.
because that would maybe make a whole picture, and then we do know some things are changing about housing and different things, so.
A lot of things are changing.
Yeah, so, this will definitely be a living document.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Alright. So then, thank you so much.
Okay.
And then for the next meeting,
Okay. Then our next meeting is, I just lost it, April 23rd at 5:30. Do we have any other?
with agenda item topics of
Oh.
the calendar, May through July, Inclusivity Proclamation, Pride event, Heritage Celebration Awareness banner, maybe we'll figure out subcommittee stuff, offline, and the age-friendly communities. Is there anything else, as Jane asked?
I check out the book Walkable City. It's pretty awesome. And also, when we make an age-friendly community, it makes it accessible for other people as well.
I almost completely forgot. Eric Neiman sent an email suggesting that you have. You're amazing. We always knew this, but still. Thank you. He sent. Yeah, I was like, where are we? He sent a link that he thinks we could add to our DEI webpage. Press release from a while back. Early March about from Oregon Black Pioneers, mentioning the fact that Oregon Black Pioneers collection of museum artifacts are now housed at Benton County History Museum in Philomath. And then also he has a link to Black Pioneer, just a regular resource for Oregon Black Pioneers. Are we all cool with that?
Yeah.
That's great.
Awesome. Thank you.
Is it cool, or maybe it's not, that we actually like maybe have an email list of all of us so we can actually, as ideas come up, that we can throw them out? Or is that like legally?
You do have to be careful about, violating public meeting laws.
That's why I send everything BCC, because we can't apply all.
I think you could send us an idea, we just can't talk about it until, like, we can read it over and then put it in the packet or whatever, but.
And
then
just
when I
like-
run into you on the street, we can talk about it.
Sure.
There can't be.
Okay, but like if I'm on a subcommittee and I don't have a contact, I can ask you to contact. me.
Yeah,
But that's
And I'll
an
hit
issue
you
too.
for my email.
Certainly,
as long as you're not making a
Contact.
quorum and you're not.
On the committee is comfortable with it, I can share your emails with any of you. I try to protect people's email addresses a little bit, and not just hand them out to anybody.
I really appreciate that.
But you can, I also highly encourage, if you're going to have throw something out via email, copy me.
Okay.
Yes. And I'll let you know if it seems like we need to stop.
Or should we run it by you first?
Well, it doesn't hurt to send it to me, and I'm happy to disseminate it to everybody also.
Are there rules against having like a drive, like a shared drive
Yes.
for like,
Yes. Yeah.
But not
Meeting laws, it's a city endorsed committee, and Oregon public meeting laws are pretty stiff on electronic serial type meetings.
But I'm under the impression that does a quorum of the subcommittee, is that an issue, or is it okay because it's not a quorum of the committee?
A subcommittee can meet, but and have discussions, as long as it's not a quorum of the full committee. I would probably like to run that past someone, to see if we need to kind of establish what the format is for a subcommittee to gather,
Okay.
And
whether it's electronically.
we've
or
talked to
in
Chris.
person.
We just need to recheck back in with him because he said so many people or something.
And then on that note, then can you, I have a Google Drive folder that with whoever my co-chair is to build the packet, but
That's
then all of that goes to you.
correct.
So then you have all of those documents, so that's okay that I have that.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so then for a subcommittee, that would also be okay because it's not a full quorum of the committee.
A discussion between two of you in order to collaborate on something is not a problem. It's when you form a subcommittee, now it has a name.
Gotcha.
And that's what I want to kind of clarify.
Cool.
so
Thank you.
if we're, whoever is working on like Pride event stuff, where it's a city
That's a good.
event.
I was just gonna ask that. Am
I was
going
gonna
to
ask
trouble?
that
Am I
'cause-
So
going
like,
to be-
so if we have a shared drive or some kind of place where we're aggregating resources so that we're not doubling efforts,
Yeah,
is that
I want to do a little bit of research
catch? Cool.
because it's kind of a new territory.
Wondering.
Because this is something that was previously in existence,
Right.
and it's now coming under the sponsorship of the city. And I certainly don't want to inhibit all of the opportunities to share information and to plan the program. I just want to make sure that we don't take a left turn when we.
Totally. And I'm wondering now, if I have too many committee members at the April 4th meeting, would we potentially have a quorum, and that is not okay?
Yeah, let me check on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I won't come. No.
Part of it, I just feel like we've got so much on our plate that if we could, put some stuff out there for us to be thinking about, so we don't have to take so much time to discuss it, then it would make it faster maybe.
Agreed.
And And on that note, I will send an email about the homework that we have the documents for currently, and we'll connect about handoff and such.
Okay, never mind.
And about figuring out subcommittees.
Well, no, I was also just saying, for a person like me with such disabilities, again, Texas Beach for thousands of emails is brutal. So if I can get a packet format, that's easier for my brain. But I'll just ask Chris or somebody.
If I understand correctly,
A paper packet?
Yeah. Yes, please.
if I understand correctly, you can, would she have to come pick it up here or?
If you want to review it in advance, I can put it on my counter with your name on it, and you can just stop by and pick it up.
Right.
The other alternative is I simply prepare an extra paper packet, and you get it here. It's waiting for you here at the meeting.
I probably should get it.
I highly encourage it. Paper packet for Zima. Anybody else? No, thank you. I did have just one other thing. I think, you did a good job of sending out the proclamation that you want us to review, but maybe, if you didn't say, please come with any edits, maybe it's worth mentioning that.
I did.
Okay,
I
I
didn't,
assumed that's what we were doing, so I didn't really.
I said, are there actions? Does this plan timeline sound good? And are there any additional edits we would like to make to the proclamation besides the land acknowledgement?
Okay, yeah.
I guess I didn't specifically say for us to discuss this
Bring
meeting,
them.
but
Cross out your,
so
yeah.
keep a note of that, Christopher.
Pay attention.
Councilor McMorris. Be specific.
Mine's on dinner. He's like,
Sorry, I was
it's like,
supposed to be at my parents' house like 20 minutes.
I was like,
Thank you so much for staying late.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
thank you, Kate.
Thanks so much, folks.
Your bag. And I lost it. See.